Welcome into the Gaming Discourse. I'm Tyler Frater alongside Richard Day the Cruz. Hey, and the Chief Engineer, Lieutenant Commander Connor Frater.
That's it.
It is Monday, October 30th, 2023. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook at The Gaming Discourse. Go to our YouTube channel, YouTube/Gaming Discourse, Patreon.com/The Gaming Discourse. You can support us for $247, $10. Get your name in the video credits, early access to videos, access to our Discord server, and more. Gaming Discourse FM is Richard's radio show.
Yes, sir.
Follow that. Check it out. On the YouTube and on the SoundCloud, just like we are. Hi.
Hey.
Sorry, my mind went blank there for a second.
It's a rough one. It's hard out there.
It's a hot one out there today.
It's hot too.
We've got news that we'll be talking about. I am going to attempt to discuss Alan Wake 2 without spoiling it, which is both really easy but also really hard because Alan Wake 2 so far is an excellent game. We'll go through games. Connor, why don't you start us off with what games you've been playing?
I played over the weekend, played and beat Killer Frequency, which is a light horror puzzle game where you're playing as a radio DJ who has to take over 911 calls because through events that happen, a killer from the past has returned and is going after certain people, and the police were involved with the murders.
Cool.
Like, they were murdered. So now you're taking over and trying to help people survive. Really fun.
That's sick. That's cool.
The music they made for the game to put on the air while you're DJing is really good music. Like, it's like really nice 80s rock and 80s like synth pop and synth wave.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Very enjoyable. The characters themselves really well voice acted. And there's a lot of like little things in the game that just make it much more of like a fun time to play. There is one of the things that shouldn't be this fun, but on your desk there's like paper balls, and there's a there's a wastebasket in the opposite corner that has a hoop over it, and you can just launch. And it's not like easy to hit. There is, you do have to line it up fairly easily, but when you press start, it keeps track of how many paper balls you've gotten through the basket.
Oh, awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
So it's fairly fun like that. But the story is really well written. They do it's set in the 80s. But they do at the end they do the 80s horror ending trope where the killer runs off and like supposedly dies, but there's no body.
Oh, yeah.
Very Halloween.
Very Halloween, leaving it open for, and the achievement for beating the game is the end ?
Of course.
Yeah. So very fun. It's very, a lot of it's tongue in cheek, a little jokey here and there, but a very good game.
Did it come out this year?
It did. It came out in May, I think.
Okay. Are you playing on Game Pass?
Yes.
All right. Cool. Well, that actually sounds really neat.
That does sound very cool.
So is it like Surgeon Simulator where you're just sort of sitting at a table without the physics silliness?
You're at a there's a little physics silliness.
Sure.
You're at a DJ booth. You have like your call-in buttons to like answer calls from people calling in, sliders to control the volume of the different things, the radio ads, the music, the call-in, the little sound effects buttons. You have your sound effects buttons. But you also throughout the game periodically leave the booth and go out through the rest of the station to find information to help people along with their survival of the killer.
Okay. It reminds me, there's a movie that came out, damn it, I'm not going to be able to find it though. Oh, The Vast of Night, where The Vast of Night is about something similar. There, I'll say that, because everybody should really just watch The Vast of Night without knowing a whole lot about it. But that concept sounds very familiar to the movie The Vast of Night, which came out a couple of years ago. Are you out on Starfield?
So I beat the main story. Wasn't 100% satisfied with that. I'm going through a couple of the faction quests, and then I think I'm gonna be done with it. Up until up until they release the creation kit and see if any interesting mods are made. Because playing through it, you start to realize certain things. A lot of the game feels like holdovers from previous ideas that weren't fully fleshed out.
Yeah.
The outpost system, entirely useless. Outside of XP farming and exploits. After that, the only reason I can see to create outposts is to generate resources for weapon mods, because weapon mods aren't transferable between weapons. They're locked to the weapon you make them on, which I feel the reason that way is because they needed a reason for you to do resource farming.
Yeah, but even then, it's like the combat is so... I don't know. I'm 60 hours in, and the mods that it's one of those things where if I put a laser on my pistol, it gives +5 accuracy. Does that really matter though?
No.
Like I'm still with or without the laser, I'm still shooting everybody in the face. It just doesn't. Yeah. It's cool, looks neat, so I still mod it. But at the same time, it's like these little incremental mods. How much does it really? Those little tiny changes just don't matter. So it's like, there are a few things like. There's a couple things that I would like to get, but
outside of pure roleplay, there's no point for like trying to go out of your way to build mods.
Yeah, which is
because over time you will find a weapon that has perks you like and the mods you like, just because that's how prevalent the legendary, rare, and ultra rare weapons are.
Sure.
One thing that really stood out when I started to realize like the holdover issues is the fuel on your ship. You have infinite fuel. You don't have to buy fuel or anything like that. You just automatically regain all of your fuel. The only thing it does mechanically is limit your jump range, which they could have just done with grav drives.
Yeah, just like Elite Dangerous does.
Just reduce the numbers on the grav drive, or just increase the effect of your ship weight versus your grav drive.
Yeah.
And I feel like originally there was going to be a fuel purchasing system, or you could mine helium through yourself and then never have to pay for fuel. That got cut.
It's one of those things where there's so many things you have to think about, and it's like, how do you solve that? So, for example, mining helium, how would you do that? There has to be some kind of mechanic. In Elite Dangerous, you have to fuel scoop, right? Which takes a few minutes. So it's like, how much do you want to... Now in Elite Dangerous, there are different levels of fuel scoops. It can go slow, it can go fast. And that's all about the choices you make as a role player. If you have a jumper, like with exploration, it's kind of funny because exploration, we get like 80 light year jump ranges. We're like, hell yeah. And then one jump, fuel's just fucking gone, So it's like, hell yeah. And then right as soon as you jump, you're like, dear God, I need gas or else I'm going to die. And that's sort of the trade-off. Yeah. And then you get a fuel scoop that does it. So I understand the roundabout way of saying I understand the difficulty of all these mechanics. But at the same time, it just feels like their solution was just to make a bunch of things useless or passive, like outposts. Yeah. Where it's just like, eh.
And then wrapping it all up, just more of Bethesda's lackluster writing. A lot of it wants to be deep, but isn't. It's very surface level writing. And a lot of it feels... A lot of the game, not just the writing, but a lot of the game and writing feels like first draft material that was never touched back on.
Wow. Well, I'm sorry. Are you gonna play it more? Or?
I'm probably gonna finish out the Freestar Ranger questline and the UC Vanguard questline, and then drop the game until mods come out for it.
Yeah, I'm not even sure.
If there's even anything the only thing that really will probably draw me towards building outposts is if the people that made sim settlements for Fallout 4 do something massive for this one, but that's not going to be for a while because sim settlements just completely finished within the past few months.
I think I think I saw PC Gamer interviewed with like the lead modder on that team. And I think they said that right now they don't, that may have been a different mod though.
Okay.
Because I know there were a couple mods that were really
they may still be like, because it was Sim Settlements 2 was like the second chapter of like, because they have fully voice acted characters.
Oh wow.
In the mod. Yeah, it's more than just it's more than just Settlements. There's a full quest line voice acted. They even they went through and found voice lines that make sense for the player character to say in response. So it's not just a silent protagonist. They're actually using the voiced lines from the game. Some of them feel a little out of place because it's the right words, but the tone isn't right.
Sure.
But
yeah.
But it's very good.
Sounds like a job for AI.
Don't make me yell at you, Richard.
But yeah, unless something big like that happens or comes out, I probably won't be touching on Outposts too much.
Okay.
Just because there's, again, outside of purely roleplay purposes, there's really no reason for it.
Alrighty.
You make enough money, you get enough guns, you get enough ammo that you don't need to do much in the way of Outposts.
Yeah, I think one thing that my mind keeps going back to is if you're going to make an RPG, make it an RPG.
Mm-hmm.
Like, make combat difficult somehow. Because if you just make it a shooter, it doesn't matter what my buffs are. I'm just going to shoot people in the face and they're going to die.
Yeah.
And the only real response to that is then just to make enemies bullet sponges.
Yeah,
and then that's
right.
just
Which
bullet
that's
sponge combat.
and that's
So
worse.
it's like, if you want to make an action game, go full on action, figure out action mechanics. If you're going to go RPG, make it where my loadout really, really freaking matters. And if I pick up a gun, then it doesn't work well. Or I don't know, just make an RPG. Like those are two different genres. But this like middle ground where it's action RPG doesn't always work. And I don't think it worked with Starfield. No. Richard.
I've been playing Spider-Man 2.
Hey, okay.
So something new, yeah. I had a lot of technical difficulties at the start of the game, which I was very surprised at. Admittedly, I did not start with the day one patch. There was a separate like 40 gig day one patch, and I was like, no, and I just started the game. But so the opening sequence had pop-ins and weird like texture graphical issues, which as I was playing it, I was enjoying the sequence, but I also was kind of like, this is weird for Insomniac. This is weird for Sony, because we don't usually get that from these types of games. I don't know yet if I like it more than the first game, but I am having a lot of personal issues with the game as far as like how I am reacting to how superhero stories are written. Particularly things that happen to the heroes to make them be heroes. And I have some examples. A big example. There is a sequence where they're ferrying some criminals across the river. Mm-hmm. And Kraven, his crew, attacks that ferry. And it's a very extensive sequence that goes on throughout the mission. And so this is a very big, major thing happening that's right next to the line of piers in New York. And so, of course, there are people on these piers. And, of course, there are warehouses and stuff like that. But it's to the point where, like, harpoons are going through this freight, pulling it, like, tipping it over. Everything's exploding. And towards the end of the mission, and this is a long mission, towards the end of the mission, one of the rotors starts hitting the pier right next to people. And it goes to the people, and they're reacting as if they didn't know anything was going on.
Oh.
And so they all get caught in it. And so now the Spider-Man have to, like, help. And it was just very much, I had that, like, old man, like, what are you doing here? Still, like, get out of the way. But, and I was talking about this to a friend today, and he's like, well, I would agree with you, but we do see people jumping into like zoo enclosures and like like these
Yeah,
things happen
right.
in real life too. Like people are just like oblivious to like what's going on. And I was like, I guess you're right, but it was just annoying.
Do you want to inject that into your narrative though? I don't know. Do you want to find a more exciting way to save somebody's life?
Yeah.
What about one of the bad guys grabs a baby and is like, "Hey, Spider-Man,"
Right,
throws
yeah.
it off a building or something? You know?
Yeah,
Peter
yeah.
Parker has to save the baby.
And then that guy would just be evil to be evil, and that's like more interesting. It's like,
Exactly.
here's
There
a
you
real
go.
villain.
Yeah, there you go. Instead of a bunch of people checking their phones and getting chopped up by a rotor going full Titanic or whatever.
I had this. There's this other like mission I did, which was really weird. Miles goes to like his school academy. There's a festival going on, and while you're there, you overhear the principal, and like you hear missing and you hear person, and so Miles is like, "Oh, I gotta do something." It's like, well, of course you do. Like, of course you gotta help. And so you go and you do a stealth thing, and you like go to where this principal and a cop are having a discussion away from everybody secretively. And they're like, hey, one of our teachers is missing. Like, she just disappeared. Like, where is she? And so, of course, you're like, oh, I'll go find her. So you go find her. And you bring her back. You do the mission. Whoever's kidnapped her, you grab her and you bring her back. When you bring her back, everybody is already waiting for you in a circle. And you land, and the principal is like, hey, everybody, thanks, Spider-Man, for saving our missing teacher. And I'm like, weren't you trying to keep this a secret from everybody? Why does everybody all of a sudden know? And how did you know I was already coming back with this teacher?
That's the Daily Bugle.
And
That's why.
right, yeah, probably. She already had like this ticket that like, you can come to us anytime, Spider-Man. And like, everything was like already ready with pomp and circumstance. And it was just kind of like, but so I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, like, am I getting old? Because I would normally have patience for this stuff because it's just a video game. It's just like, things can just happen at will. But for some reason, they really bothered me. And I was kind of like, this is strange.
I think writing inconsistencies are. I think that's a totally valid thing.
I guess it was just tonally like.
I mean, I was just complaining about that about Starfield. So.
That's true.
Yeah, Starfield's all over the map. Oh my god! Discover the secrets of the universe. Oh, but wait, I gotta pirate this ship and kill 50 innocent people real quick.
Yeah,
like, what? Come on.
But this is the one that actually got me really mad. There's a part where you're, as Peter Spider-Man, you are infiltrating like Craven's like base, well, one of Craven's bases, and you're taking out all of his goons and everything. And there's several parts where you like go up to a computer and like, oh, what are you up to? And then you like investigate a couple things. And there's this part where you go up to, you take some enemies out, and then the cutscene plays, and Peter goes up to a crossbow and like activates the trigger, and it shoots a grapple hook like across the way. And then Peter goes, huh. And then from then on, you can use it, like you can just make a zip line to take people out. But he does that already innately
with his web.
But it's like, you can't do that until you see
the crossbow.
Like, a grapple hook do what Spider-Man already does in
That
general.
is kind of weird. Yeah.
So because the ability is you can, when you're already like walking on a small space, you can create anywhere you want another zip line so you can get a better advantage point. So that's the new ability you get just from doing that. And I thought it was really stupid because Spider-Man just already does that. So that was weird. Those are very extremely small parts in like a bigger whole. I haven't gotten to anything like super in depth, but I am glad they're kind of branching out with at least more mentions of other heroes or things in like the universe. There's a sequence of Black Cat that was really awesome. She steals something from Doctor Strange's Sanctorum, and allows her to do the portal thing.
Oh, okay.
And so you go on a chase with her, and you end up fighting with her. So you're fighting goons while she's fighting people with portals like in the background. And it's the type of portals that you would see in like Ratchet and Clank, like Rift Apart. So you're doing like executions, but finishing moves and stuff while everything's kind of going crazy. I thought it was a really, really neat sequence. But the story's fine so far. Nothing has happened to where I'm very much like, I need to play more and more, and but it's very good. I think the other big downside I have to it is just being able to keep track of both Spider-Man's abilities and their combos, because you can switch them on the fly, which is really nice. But knowing that Miles has all these electricity powers and Peter does not, he has all these tool powers, which he has 3D printers on his arms. He just 3D print anything he wants, apparently.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, they make it a point to tell you that. It's like,
okay. A reason for why he has so many gadgets and stuff.
So,
he has no pockets.
He's like, you have to activate this thing. You got those 3D printers on your wrists, right? And he's like, yep, got them right here. And, just, and I was like, oh, okay.
Man, you sound like James Franco complaining about Spider-Man so much. Just kidding. That was
I have nothing
stupid
except Spider-Man.
Connor just showed me a meme of that. I have nothing except Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Everybody needs a cheeseburger sometimes, even
like
Spider-Man.
Seems like he likes chicken.
That's an even a deeper cut from the internet. Even deeper cut. Okay, so why haven't you played Alan Wake 2?
Because I haven't had. I need my full time and attention.
Okay, that's a good.
I need my
excuse.
full time and attention. And last night the other night I did start it up, and it was like 11:30 at night, and I was like, I got slightly into the opening sequence where it shows the deer like in the lake, and I was just like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, I can't play this right now. Like, I don't have time. Like, I need like.
Sure.
I'm not going to play the first 5 minutes and then like, oh, I got to go to bed. Like, I hate it. That's why I mean, I played Spider-Man so much because it's just like, whatever, jump in, swing around. That's fine. But
so, all right. So Alan Wake 2 so far, it's gotten some.
I'm leaving.
It's gotten some. I will try to keep this
No,
as spoiler free as possible. It's gotten some crazy reviews. Eurogamer gave it 3 stars out of 5. I think like GameSpot or somebody gave it a 5 out of 10. Other people gave it a 10 out of 10. So there's all kinds of stuff going nuts. What I can say is that I absolutely adore Alan Wake 2 so far. It is much more of a horror game this time around. So there's still some of that Twilight Zone-ness, but it loses some of that funny Agent Cooper Twin Peaks and it replaces it with straight horror.
Yeah.
The structure is a little awkward. Some of the combat is a little awkward. But once you sort of get into the swing of things, it becomes much better. In some ways, it reminds me of Silent Hill 2. Because in Silent Hill 2, enemies don't respawn, or at least they often don't respawn. Some will get back up or whatever. But so basically how the game works is levels are sort of open-ended in a sense. You go to a place, you can run around and do stuff. There are enemies out there, but once you kill those enemies, they usually don't respawn. There are random encounters. You can trigger things where enemies will spawn and come after you. But there are long stretches of the game where you will just run around and there's nothing. You're just collecting stuff, solving puzzles. There's no combat whatsoever. I am fine with this. It is weird because there's no soundtrack. There's lots of ambience, which I like.
Okay.
But so it's a very quiet game, and depending on how much you mainline it, there can be long stretches where not a lot happens. I don't mind that as much. Because the combat is really impactful, and it's not the same type of combat in Alan Wake, the first one.
Yeah.
Where it was like you would fight 10 enemies and get into these crazy situations where you'd have to shoot you have to hold your ground or whatever. It's like you may fight 3 or 4 enemies at once, and that's a big group. Other than that, combat is intense. Doesn't last that long, and so they pick and choose their spots for it to happen, which I like a lot because there's tension there, and enemies don't surprise you. You'll hear like a low, there's this like creepy ambience that starts when you near an enemy, so you know that that enemies are nearby. So combat doesn't just suddenly happen. I don't think this is a spoiler. it's a good thing you stopped playing because there is no fourth wall in Alan Wake 2. It is complete.
Really?
It is complete. I cannot wait for you to see a few things because Remedy is openly the characters might as well look into the screen and ask you if you like playing Alan Wake 2. It's not like ridiculous, but there is so much going on in the game. You don't know what's real. It mirrors Alan's sort of, he's fighting off the darkness. He's trying to like keep his mind straight. So I think it sort of mirrors that a little bit. There was a 2.5 hour section where at one point, where it was, I say this, no exaggeration, some of the most perfect horror gameplay I have ever played. Like just perfectly paced, creepy, the combat was phenomenal, the story was freaking good, how they set things up was really good, and it was 2.5 hours where the whole time it was just like this. It was like watching The Thing. It was just a perfect 2.5 hours of horror. Like I couldn't imagine. It was just it took me and just had me engaged deeply for so long. And after I got done with it, it was just like, is what's that actor leaning back from the computer screen?
Oh,
Antonio Banderas.
Yeah.
Just like, oh my God, like that was phenomenal. But not all the game is like that. There's one thing, I don't know if you want it spoiled. I won't. I'll be vague again. There is something awkward that I'm not a huge fan of. I don't think you'll be a huge fan of it either. I think there are some reasons that they did it. The game, the pacing of the game can get tripped up because you constantly have to go into menus to do something.
You're bored.
Okay, so you do know that.
I know about the board.
Okay.
And my buddy mentioned, forgot her name.
Saga.
Yeah.
So Saga is a detective.
Yeah.
So she's piecing together crimes and stuff, right? So what's a little annoying is you'll go through, you'll find basically instead of having quest markers or like a summary of what you have discovered, that board sort of doubles as that.
Okay.
So everything you discover, you have to go back to the board, you have to place it on the board, and you have to lay it all out. At the beginning, it's not that bad. But as you play a Saga, you get like 25 pictures.
Yeah.
So you have to go back to the board, you have to put it all on the board. And that creates a lot of pacing problems because you get into these really intense horror sections. And then it's like at the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, there's a little icon that's like you have pictures to place on the board. So you got to find light because the game is not paused when you go to the board. So if you're in a dangerous area and enemies attack you, you'll be attacked. But if you're in light, you're safe. Enemies, just like in Alan Wake. So you have to go to the board real quick. You have to place the things on the board. If you don't do it, if you have pictures that you need to put on the board, but you don't, and after a while you complete that section without putting up the pictures, Saga will just say, no use working on something already done, and the pictures just go up automatically. So it's kind of weird because it's like, why do I have to do so much of this? I don't understand. It explains a lot of the game and explains Saga's thinking, but like you will find multiple times I got a picture, and I'm calling it pictures because it's like when Saga discovers something, it takes a picture of it for reference, and that's what you put on the board. She connects it with yarn like a detective. But it's like there's been multiple times where I had to go do something. I went and did it. I went to the board, and all the pictures I put up were things that I had already done. So I was just putting up stuff that was at this point moot, right? So I don't quite understand why that's a thing, and I think some people aren't a fan of that. There are other things with that. It's called her mind palace, right? So you switch to it, and it's like, which is cool because it switches instantly. So that's something I can understand people complaining about because it slows down the game. You have to go do this other stuff, and you get back to, it's that Pro ZD video, You have to go find all the pine cones or all the eggs, before you can get back to the horror gameplay. But the story so far, I love it. I cannot wait for you to play this game. Like, there are things about the game that I knew that Control was sort of this new. It was like, okay, we're gonna make a universe. Yeah, we're gonna do this whole thing. There is a lot of Control in this game.
Oh, cool.
Not the gameplay, but you'll hear about the FBC. Mm-hmm. I hope you're not tired of those old crazy acronyms, because you'll see that every now and then. Yeah. So they wrapped that in a bit, but with the story is just so interesting to me, and there's I saw someone on Kotaku call it a meta supernova or something like that, which I thought was funny because it is. I jotted down a few notes. Yeah, I think I've probably covered everything. That's the thing. So the TV breaks in Alan Wake, I always thought were kind of neat. I was like, okay,
I
it's
love
like
watching those
episodes. I think they figured out how to do it better in Alan Wake 2, because one of the things that I think TV episodes do well is something big happens, an episode ends, and the only thing that you have as a viewer is to sit there and reflect for a second, right? Mm-hmm. And some of my favorite TV shows have ended on something huge, whether it's a cliffhanger or a big reveal or whatever, and you're sort of left to reflect on that for a second. And it lets a big moment be emphasized as opposed to being in the middle of something, mm-hmm. right? So Alan Wake 2 does that really well, because it has some big moments and a thing happens, and then it cuts to its TV episode ending, and you're able to sit there and it plays a song just like in Alan Wake, and you're able to take it in, reflect on that for a second, think about it, and sort of reset for the next part of the story, which is really well done. There's there's one thing I cannot wait for you to see, because I don't know why. I just think you'll really like it. And I don't think everyone. There are a lot of people I'm sure that have noticed it. Mm-hmm. But it was just there's a character in this. I'm for sure there is a character in this game that I think is just a prank, a prominent character that I think is just a ridiculous prank. Okay. Because what they do with this character is first they give this. I want to be as vague as possible. They give this character something obvious, and you're like, huh, okay. And then they write that obvious thing off, and you're like, huh, okay. And then later on, they do something else obvious with the character. And at that point, you're like, Remedy, stop, please. It's like they're just messing with you on purpose. All the things they do with this character. And then later on, they do another thing with the character, 10 minutes after they did something else. And it's just oh my God, what the hell's going on? And you can't focus on any of it because the game's terrifying. And it's great. It's all so there. That was my vague. So far, I love it. I'm 10 hours in, can't get enough of it. If it continues playing like it is right now, it'll be one of my favorite horror games of all time. In that 2 hour I'll say this, Subway, there.
Okay.
That's as vague as I'll be.
Eat fresh, got it.
You're going to be eating fresh all right now. The Subway, when you get to Subway.
Yeah.
Before the Subway, through the Subway, and after the Subway, for me was just 2 hours of just perfect horror. It was just God touched them as they were laying this thing out and designing it.
God or Sam Lake?
Well, yes. Is there a difference? Hey-oh. Okay. That's enough about Alan Wake 2. Let's hit the ads. Talk news. Thanks for listening. If you like our content, please consider subscribing or leaving a like and comment. You can find us at patreon.com/thegamingdiscourse. And our tiers are $2, $4, $7, and $10 and include getting your name in the video credits, early access, and access to our Discord server. Okay, Xbox is reorganizing. This was first reported by Tom Warren at The Verge. Among the changes, Matt Booty is now president of game content and studios, an expanded group that includes ZeniMax and Bethesda. Sarah Bond is now Xbox president, so overseeing platform and hardware. I didn't see her hand move. That caught me off guard. We still don't know who is going to replace Bobby Kotick at this point. It could be a grilled cheese sandwich. He just needs to fucking get out of there. If I am interpreting this correctly, I believe this means Activision Blizzard, the next Activision Blizzard CEO will report to Matt Booty, who then reports to Phil Spencer.
Xbox.
But I don't know if that's accurate or not. They released, like, The Verge put together a chart, and that's kind of how it made the chart out to look, but
My Hail Mary passes Pete Hines.
but I don't know. Pete Hines.
Why did he retire all of a sudden out of nowhere?
It's gonna be like a wrestling match.
Makes
Who's gonna
perfect
come
sense.
Next, but that's Pete Hines. He can't do that.
No, he's just retiring from Bethesda. He's not retiring.
Oh man.
Let's see.
Reading from Warren's story, quote, Microsoft's reorganizations here are clearly about its potential in gaming and AI. Microsoft closed its Activision Blizzard acquisition earlier this month, with plans to announce which games are coming to Xbox Game Pass in the coming months. Microsoft has been integrating AI into Windows, Office apps, Bing, and much more in an attempt to be an early leader in AI, end quote. And then just before we started recording, Biden signed some executive order about AI. I have no idea.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, I was reading it a little bit. We can't talk about what was going on because it just happened. He's like, "How about this, Jack?"
Stop.
What? I don't know what's happening to. I don't know.
I'll explain later.
Oh, okay.
I shouldn't, but I will.
Richard was yelling at his laptop. Okay, so what do we think? Obviously, with the reorganization, okay, fine. But I think that the larger point here is probably things that we've already discussed. If you're going to be, if King was a big deal, how is that going to impact future games? And how is this going to, how much is this going to change studio autonomy at Xbox? Tom Warren seemed to indicate that this reorganization, specifically with Matt Booty sort of leading the group that oversees ZeniMax and Bethesda, he seemed to color it as like a safeguard against something like Redfall happening again, which is interesting. So sorry. Go ahead. Thoughts? What about Xbox? About this?
Cool.
Reorganization makes sense after you acquire a large company.
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
So,
And it does. It's just, until the new cogs replace the old ones and things start turning, we don't have any other.
once that grilled cheese sandwich gets in place at a Bethesda or a Blizzard.
It could just be toast at this point. It doesn't even have to be
Yeah,
cheese.
toast.
I think so. Another interpretation here was that it seems that Microsoft is sort of doubling down on gaming. It makes me wonder what would have happened if they didn't get King, which is interesting. I'm sure
It would have folded.
this entire shuffle was probably planned, for
In
a
advance
while.
of the deal being completed.
Yeah, for a while now. But I think the biggest thing is how, now that you acquired King, how is that going to impact the games that you make, the things that you okay? What are you going to do to try and get more games out? That's the most important thing, I think, is none of this matters, I think, to things that have meaning. None of this matters if you can't start pumping out games, right? I'm sure there are people at Xbox that consider like King to be just as an important sector here, and of course they do, and of course financially, yes. But when it comes to gaming, that's on autopilot. Make microtransactions, and who gives a shit? But like when it comes to Perfect Dark Zero or whatever other games, I think how this merger goes through, what Microsoft looks like in the future, is all going to come down to what kind of games they're able to get out and what happens. We're going to have to wait and see how Game Pass evolves. We know it's been bleeding money, but now you have this whole other thing. So, and we know that Starfield sold really well.
Yes.
As far as I know.
Yeah.
And that's despite it being on Game Pass.
Mm-hmm.
So how does that change Xbox's decision making? How does that change other companies' decision making when it comes to putting games on Game Pass? Now that they have Activision Blizzard, how does that change? I don't know. Is it going to slow down? Is it going to get bigger? So I guess there's just a lot of stuff up in the air. But yeah, I'm always fascinated to talk about Xbox's position moving forward, though. But ring the games.
Yeah, no, that's the main thing. And I think actually they're in, considering what we've heard quite recently within the last half year about what's been going down with Perfect Dark, I think acquiring Activision is the best thing that could happen to them at this point. Because you take some of those guys from High Moon or Raven and you have them make Perfect Dark. I know you already have that other studio making, I forgot which studio, the new studio, right? I think, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
The Initiative.
Initiative, yeah.
Like it's not. I don't think it is.
And you have them help out because apparently they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, and I do wonder if Microsoft will view Call of Duty in a different. I don't know. We'll view some of those support studios in a different light.
Yeah.
Because under Activision, Call of Duty was such a focus.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Xbox has such a bigger ecosystem now. Do they say, "Hey, Raven, you know what? You don't need to be, pounding away on DLC for Call of Duty. You can do this or whatever." Because we have this huge infrastructure, because we have Matt Booty and all these people looking over different sectors of our gaming ecosystem. We have the people in place that we can sort of facilitate a different level of distribution when it comes to studios doing different things. Do we see that? That would be interesting. I think Phil Spencer is the most sincere. He is a company man. He's a company man first and foremost. But I also do think he's the most sincere of all the big gaming executives. So when he says that he would love to bring back other smaller games and whatnot, I think he does mean it. Does he have the power to? Could he actually do that? I don't know. But I think he probably does mean it. But that's an excellent thought, actually. Especially, I don't know, and I can't speculate because I don't know how many. It takes a lot of people to keep Call of Duty running, but when your company isn't necessarily reliant on Call of Duty, can you take some people away and send them to do something else? Sorry, you were going to say something.
I think it takes a lot of people to make a yearly iteration of Call of Duty.
Yes, to run it.
Yeah.
To operate it.
But once again, they have something like Warzone now, which is, arguably right behind Fortnite. Arguably.
Yeah, and
Probably,
it may
yeah.
be.
It's Fortnite, Call of Duty, Apex. Like those are the three.
Yeah, and
Valorant close to after that.
I think Call of Duty is the only one that reaches certain reaches. Call of Duty is the only one where athletes talk about it, right?
Yeah.
Which is annoying, but that reaches a certain market that I don't think Apex does. And I don't think Fortnite does. And I think Fortnite is also seen more of a kids thing, and it is. Yeah. And it's probably more popular on Twitch. But Twitch is a different market than what Devin Booker is playing or what Kyler Murray is playing when he should be studying film.
Right, but can you play as Alan Wake in Apex Legends? I don't think so, buddy.
You know what would be hilarious is if when you play as Alan Wake in Fortnite, if you're forced to be schizophrenic, you can't move very fast. You have to keep looking behind your back. I'm forgetting something.
It sucks because it's not for the kids. It's not Alan Wake. It's John Wick. So.
Well, I don't know. Alan Wake was in it, I thought.
No, he is. Yeah, he was just added, but he looks like John. He looks like John Wick. Really? I mean, yeah, because he's the new Alan Wake version, so he has a beard. Oh yeah, he's got the beard and the. You're right. Yeah, man. You know what? Keanu Reeves would probably play a good Alan Wake. He would actually. Yeah. He has that vulnerability. We're not talking about this. Okay, yeah, different market, whatever. Connor.
Yes.
What's going on with AI?
The Finals is used AI rather. First reported by PC Gamer. A little bit of background. The Finals is a free-to-play shooter currently in an open beta. On a podcast by Embark Studios, audio designer Carl Strandberg and Andreas Alstrom spoke about using AI voiceovers, saying, quote, the reason that we went this route is that AI text-to-speech is finally extremely powerful. It gets us far enough in terms of quality and allows us to be extremely reactive to new ideas. If a game designer comes up with a new idea for a game mode, we can have a voiceover representing that in just a matter of hours instead of months. A lot of people have spoken out about this, including Gianni Matronago from Topang 2 and Vertigo 2, who tweeted, we are constantly banging out rush order sessions for like within a day or two. You can literally get pro-grade voiceover for less than a grand total, bang out a couple recording sessions, and bam, you have all the audio you need. When you need more, you can book another session. We actually make it very easy. And then it just sounds good, and not to be something even players who don't really care about AI ethics keep complaining about.
This annoys me. I don't know. With everything I understand that SAG-AFTRA is an American thing.
Yeah.
So like people in Europe maybe haven't even heard of it or whatever. But I think if you're somebody that's making something if for somebody that's making something in games, you're going to be working with people that are covered under multiple unions. So there's no way that you just haven't heard about AI.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of weeks ago, we talked about the Cyberpunk case, right, where the actor had died. I think that's a special case. It has to do with somebody dying, passing away, who was really popular. The family was involved. I think that's a different case. Here, it's just a bunch of tech bros who are like, "Hey, let's do this because it's easier."
Because we're lazy. Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know, man. I don't mean to demean the game. You're making a free, like, the only reason your game exists is to sell microtransactions. That's it. So it's like, can you not cut corners in other places? And I understand that it's easier, and I understand that it may be more dynamic because you want it to, like, I don't know, maybe you want to train it to react to more specific things, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like a multiplayer game. And as far as I can tell, the voices were like play-by-play people or something.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, because the finals is like supposed to be like a game show type thing.
Another riff on Running Man.
Something like that. So from the clip I watched, it was almost like the voices were like play-by-play people or something. I don't know, but not like the voices of characters. So I understand that it would be difficult, right? You play Madden, and after a while, it's the same lines over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So if you could have Chris Collinsworth, and you can have an AI where he reacts to the thing that just happened, that'd be cool. Of course, with Chris Collinsworth, all that would happen was he'd say, "Now here's a guy," and then that would that's a joke nobody gets but me.
I always hear Madden saying that.
No, well, I can't do Madden.
Sorry.
So, no, Chris Collinsworth. Now, here's a guy. Doesn't matter. But this just annoys me because it's like, and it's such a stupid excuse. I'm sorry, Connor. Go ahead.
Okay, so with the CD Projekt Red Cyberpunk voiceover, I think there is a very, very distinct difference that needs to be taught. It's not just a different case. It's a different use of AI entirely. In Cyberpunk, they had a voice actor come in, read the lines, and they used an AI to augment his voice to sound like the other actor.
That's true. Yeah.
So that's using AI as a tool. Another thing came out recently with AI being used as a tool. You guys didn't hear, we're getting a new Beatles song.
Yeah.
Yes. Back in the 70s, John recorded a demo for a song. It never got anywhere past that because he died. And eventually it was given from Yoko to the remaining Beatles back in the 90s. They started recording on it. George Harrison had recorded some guitar tracks for it, but they weren't able to clean up the demo that had John's vocals and piano on it. Fast forward to now, AI is good enough that they were able to clean up John's vocals so that they could use it. They've re-recorded the piano. Paul and Ringo added bass and guitar and other instruments, and they used George Harrison's original recordings for the song. And now we're getting a new Beatles song, and AI is being used as a tool, not a replacement. It wasn't generative AI. They didn't use it to generate his new voice. They used it to clean up and retool it to be usable. Mm-hmm. That is what, if you're a company, you should be doing with AI. Not replacing, but using it as a tool to enhance, fix, augment,
Yeah.
not get people out of the way and replace it with computers.
Right.
And in the past few years, we have had acting has come so far in video games, right? It's like you could make a list. I can't off the top of my head right now, but you can make a list of like 10 performances in the last 10 years that were just mind blowing. Roger Clark, Trevor, basically everybody in Rockstar Games, right?
Yeah.
Everybody in Baldur's Gate. All right, just wait till you see the performances in Alan Wake 2. It's going to blow your goddamn mind. Control had some really... Dr. Darling, are you kidding me, right? And it's like these are real actors where games are being made now that are not just like... I don't know, I don't want to... That's too generalized, but they're able to use their full chops as an actor, right? And that has elevated video games. So to switch to AI, that takes a step back because it's not that great. And these people who are clearly talented don't get a chance to do the thing that they're talented with, and that's just so annoying. I don't know. And if you can't afford voice actors, then maybe don't. I would rather have no voiceover than AI voiceover. Just because, I don't know, it just seems so fake. And if you're somebody that is okay with this sort of thing, like, I don't know, understand that it doesn't stop here, right? Like, as soon as other applications can be readily done with AI, that's what's going to happen, because you can make it for cheap or whatever, right? So it's like, it's not like AI handling voices is going to end it, and that's all AI is ever going to do. AI is going to be applied to other areas, and then these same excuses are going to be used for AI being applied to those areas, and that sucks because you don't want that in art, and you don't want that when it comes to entertainment and stuff like that. It's just, I don't know. And I understand these guys came from the I think they worked at DICE, so they're probably not American, and they probably didn't live in North America, so they probably weren't following SAG-AFTRA and stuff. But people are on Twitter, and as a huge people were talking about SAG-AFTRA all the time on Twitter, right? I think was the union SAG-AFTRA? I don't remember. Anyway, the point is, this has been at the forefront of so many discussions about AI replacing jobs and all that stuff.
Right.
To do it with a game coming out, it's just so distasteful.
That has the possibility of making hand over fist. Not saying it's guaranteed, but
yeah,
it's not like the money won't be recouped in any sort of way.
Yeah. Go ahead, Connie.
SAG-AFTRA isn't exclusively American. It's a global union.
Okay, yeah, I think they're also in Canada.
So even
I don't know.
so even European actors can be covered.
Hey, you can use AI to hear this out loud.
Damn it!
I was putting listings on eBay, like for the store for like higher priced items, and like into like where you type up what you have, and it was like, use the AI to fill it out for you, and I was like, okay,
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah. Anyway, okay. Is there anything else we would like to say about this?
No, not for me.
Audio designers Carl and Andreas, shut up.
I don't know. I think
I've done sound design. All right. I've worked with voice actors before. It's not difficult. It doesn't take months. If it's taking months, you're doing your job wrong. And this is coming from someone who barely did audio engineering for voice actors. All right. I did it like maybe a dozen times. All right. If it's taking you months and I can get it done in a weekend, you're not doing your job right.
It just pay people. And if you can't pay people, don't have voiceover.
You shouldn't be doing it. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I think it's that simple. Because if you start replacing stuff with AI, why stop in one spot? Why not keep going? And if I'm repeating myself, Richard, what the fuck is going on at Nintendo?
Oh god.
Nintendo is being I forgot the phrase. Draconian. We'll use draconian, like it says right
Being
here.
shitheads.
Nintendo has some new policy changes that are very unpopular with a lot of their fans. Published on the 24th, Nintendo's new community guidelines are very long and, quote, stupid. I believe community... basically, they're tournaments that are not licensed by Nintendo.
Yeah.
So tournaments like fighting game community, like after school tournaments, stuff like that. New guidelines include community tournaments may not generate commercial revenues except as permitted by these guidelines. Names of community tournaments may not contain Nintendo trademarks or IP. This includes shortened or modified versions. That's very specific. Pirated/modified versions of Nintendo games may not be used. Nintendo games may not be used in tournaments that, quote, have sponsors or that advertise or promote any entity, products, or services, end quote. Tournaments cannot serve food, drinks, and merchandise. I did not know that was there.
Yeah.
Nintendo says it reserves the right to take legal action.
So my question is, if I was talking with Nintendo, my question would be, so how long have you hated all of your fans? Like a really loaded question like
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
When did Nintendo start? 18.
Yeah.
I don't do. Does Nintendo like
The day
their
after
fans?
we started.
Does Nintendo like their community?
No.
It's just so
No, they don't like their
exhausting.
Smash community.
Well, listen, nobody likes the Smash. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I'm with you on that.
No. I am somebody who came from a town, very small town, where there was actually a prominent Smash community. And I played against a couple people. I was never good at Smash. Connor and I, we never really owned Nintendo consoles growing up.
Good.
Yeah.
So we never played Smash. I was more of a Halo person, erudite, sophisticated.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, of course.
Battle rifle.
Debonair.
Yeah, not this like degenerate Falco bullshit.
Wave dashing.
But
Ugh.
I remember playing people that were like some of the best players in Arizona and maybe even like in this region. I don't
A
know.
lot of them are here. A lot of really good players are here.
There was a I think one guy we played against was like one of the best Falcos like this side of the Colorado. I don't know, something in a fairly large area. But the point is like communities like that sprout up, and it's back in the day it was word of mouth. It was like local, right? And now today you have the internet's obviously more robust, so people can organize and stuff like that. But having like a lifeblood of community in a game like that is so unique. Not a lot of games have that sort of thriving community, at least offline, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's special. And it just makes no sense that Nintendo just hates it. I mean, I don't know. That's too bad. And by the way, this thing here, the pirate and modified versions of Nintendo games may not be used. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Because Project M has been one of the most popular like mods.
Yeah.
When we played, that was the modified version. They played Project M's on CRT TVs because everybody thought for sure that if you played on a plasma or on a flat screen, there was latency issues. So there's all these heavy ass CRT TVs that people would bring in. Richard, you sound annoyed.
Yeah, I hate Smash players.
Anyway, so yeah, what else do we think about this?
Yeah, awful from a standpoint of being a fan.
Yeah.
Nintendo has this weird. They're consistent about it too. Unfortunately, they have this weird thing about, and I'm not saying this is exactly it, but they have this weird thing about being such a company that's focused on like their younger audience or like family and like being a community that they're willing to squash other communities. I'll try to use that example. Like Sonic in Brawl, he used to have his taunt where, you know, he would run in place and he would go, "You're too slow." Like it was fun. It was Sonic. Like that's what Sonic is. Yeah. And they took that out because people would use it as a taunt, and Nintendo was like, "That's negative. We don't want negative." They took it out.
Yeah.
You mean to tell me they used a taunt?
Yeah.
As a taunt?
As a taunt, yes.
How? Damn it.
Right, yeah. They want it. They like have this, to a fault, keep that like family friendly positivity. And they've always seen tournaments. Smash is a party game, but it is now a fighting game. Like the guy who made it, Sakurai, made it as a party game, but it is now viewed as a fighting game, and I don't think Nintendo wants that viewpoint of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, and that's just something that I've observed. I'm not saying this is their reasoning for any of this, but there's a reason why they don't sponsor any of these tournaments. There's a reason why, the fans keep begging for like a re-release of Super Smash Bros. Melee, or like that's the only game that these players will play. Ultimate is gained its footing though, but Nintendo just seems to like not want anything to do with something that is competitive rather than something that everybody plays together.
Mm-hmm.
But in a lot of people's eyes, that's what playing together is.
Sure.
Like being competitive.
But also, why does it matter to Nintendo?
Money.
I mean, well, yes, there's that, and there's their, they have the attitude of like a 1950s British school head or something.
Anything that will taint the image of anything they own.
Yeah,
even slightly.
Like then that begs the question: why continue to make Smash Bros? I know money is the answer.
Yeah.
But if the issue is like this game is creating this divisive ideology in Nintendo, then why not just stop?
Yeah. Nintendo, I think you're correct. Nintendo has a cookie cutter way that they want it. Everything is on their terms.
Mm-hmm.
And legally, maybe they have ground to stand on. I don't know. But it's stupid ground to stand on.
No, it is stupid. And it's very old. That's why... So I'm so negative, but that's why, and this is probably bad for me to say, but that's why I'm always like, I can't wait till all the old heads at Nintendo die. Like,
we talked about that last week. How do you fix Nintendo's issue? Is you replace everyone in management with new people.
So it's like, there's Super Mario Maker 2 for the Switch a couple years ago. The first one never had a story mode. The second one did. I played those levels, and those levels were some of the most like fun Mario things I've done in a very long time. Turns out all of those things were by the new young guys. They weren't from like the older Nintendo guys. Yeah, okay. They put the young guys on that game, and like Mario Wonder looks really fun and really weird, and it's all the young guys. It's not like the old guys.
I didn't know any of this. Okay,
so
interesting.
So it's just like that line of thinking. It's just
the old heads stuck in their ways that don't want to change anything because they have a specific idea of what Nintendo is.
Yeah.
And if Nintendo strays away from that, everyone fucking dies.
And it begrudgingly works.
Yeah.
For now.
And I understand some of the stuff in these guidelines like clearly are completely reasonable. Like don't promote illegal stuff. It's like, I understand why a company wouldn't want to be associated with, a Smash tournament that's held in like a bordello, then they're like cutting coke on the side or something like that, and then you see somebody sniffing in the background, all you hear is just like like I get it, but that's not, I don't know, how is that a problem?
Tournaments cannot serve food or drinks.
Food or drinks. You can't use abbreviated versions, so you can't call it a Smash tournament.
If it's connected by 6 degrees of separation, it's like, no, get it out of here, because we don't want any like lawsuits.
Well, if you're planning on holding a Smash tournament and you're trying to figure out a new name, great use of a thesaurus right there. Magnificent Crash siblings. There you go.
There you go. Nice. Very nice. Yeah, I was thinking some way of like, I was fantasizing about like, I wonder if you could merge a Smash tournament with like a lecture about freedom of speech and then just have like a legal bomb go off where you're like, oh, you're suing me, Nintendo? Well, I'm preaching about a Supreme Court case on freedom of speech while playing Smash. What are you gonna do now, you sons of bitches?
Let's see your lawyers navigate this.
Yeah, exactly, which is a dumb idea, but okay. Anyway,
make it work.
It's the comic book villain that had baby armor. What are you gonna do, cops? Stop me!
Oh my god, I need to show you. I need to show you guys something after the show about Delocated and puppy armor. Anyway, okay. I know you don't have tidbits, but we'll just play the tidbit sounder anyway. What if I told you, in this world, there are bits, and there are tids, and Richard is the only man who can put them together into tidbits. Oh, but you do have MPD numbers, or not MPD? You
Yeah,
have
Circana numbers.
Yeah, go ahead.
Crash those.
I'll go through them.
siblings
Yeah,
together.
they're fucking tidbits. I will go through this somewhat quickly. Consumer spending on video game content, hardware, and accessories grew 10% compared to a year ago. 4.5 billion totaling. Growth in spending on video game content and accessories had an 8% decline in hardware, or to offset the 8% decline in hardware. Year-to-date, U.S. consumer spending across video game products remained 2% higher than a year ago at $39.4 billion. Why are there layoffs again? Spending on video game content in September increased 13% versus the year average, reaching $3.8 billion. Growth in digital premium download spending across console and PC drove most of the gains. Non-mobile subscription spending fell 2%, while Sensor Tower reported mobile spending growth of 4%. Starfield was the best-selling game of September, instantly becoming 7th best-selling game of 2023 year-to-date. Mortal Kombat 1 debuted as the 2nd best-selling game of September and the number 8th best-selling game of 2023 year-to-date. Video game hardware spending fell 8% when compared to a year ago to $451 million. PlayStation 5 remained the best-selling hardware platform. Of course it did. Accessories spending during September increased 11% when compared to a year ago to $197 million. Gamepad spending increased by 15% in the month compared to a year ago, while racing controllers spending grew by 18%. And then a couple quick anecdotes since I got these numbers, what Matt has, babbled on about. First off, he's a fan of the Diamondbacks, so cool.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah, he's like, Diamondbacks. Anyways.
Okay. He doesn't sound like a fan, but we'll take it. Yeah, you see the guy from Blazing Saddles?
He is, but he isn't. But it sounds like this World Series people are being forced to choose who they're fans of.
Okay.
Maybe. According to Circana's player engagement tracker, on October 11th, Roblox was the number 2 most played game on PlayStation in daily actives and accounted for 11.5% of all time spent playing on PlayStation across all games that day. Roblox is big money, big
money,
child
big
sweatshop.
exploitation.
Gotta get that child labor in.
You gotta get those kids in to make games. Come on, Timmy. You working 30 hours a day or what?
Timmy, you didn't put enough games in. You're fine. I want games of Spider-Man.
Now sit back down at your computer. You're hired. Keep working, you son of a bitch. I'm sorry. I got math homework. Fuck your goddamn math homework.
You do math in Roblox.
Yeah, exactly. Make a game about Roman legionnaires and make sure you radicalize people. God damn it. Anyway, sorry.
It has been one of the best years for new video games, perhaps ever. U.S. video game content spending has grown 2% year-to-date compared to a year ago at $34.1 billion. This compares to the U.S. content spending in the past years of 2020, $33.8 billion, 2021, $36.6 billion, COVID, baby, 2022, $33.5 billion. And that is it.
Okay, COVID baby. Woo!
COVID baby.
Let's go.
Follow us on Twitter and Facebook.
We lived it,
Gaming
man.
Discourse. Gaming Discourse, youtube.com/Gaming Discourse, Gaming Discourse FM.
Yes.
Play some Alan Wake 2.
I will.
Talk about
Tomorrow's my day off.
it. Okay. All right. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.